Good evening, everyone. My name is Gopal Krishna Anand, Associate Editor of OEM Update magazine, and I welcome you all to the OEM magazine's interactive session, MHE for Modern Manufacturing. I have my colleague Rajeshwari, editorial OEM Update magazine, to introduce the panelists and tell you more about this interactive session. I welcome Ms. Rajeshwari to take over and moderate the session.
Thank you, Mr. Gopal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to OEM Update Magazine's interactive session on MHE for modern manufacturing. The imminent need for manufacturing organizations is to integrate AI and machine learning into manufacturing operations. Further, modern manufacturing with digitalisation represents a transition from traditional automation. Choosing the right automated material handling and parts sorting system has increased the speed of the process. Modern manufacturing aims to have machinery and equipment networked to bring transformation. Robotic use is growing at an exponential rate in the manufacturing industry. Programmable automation without human intervention is being utilized for machine operation. Machine learning and AI provide real-time and predictive analytics that facilitate manufacturing operations to improve quality and reduce downtime. Automating the process results in smooth production and high quality products. In contrast, material handling and storage selection is based on production capacity. Loading and unloading, as well as storage, can be integrated with the ERP systems. On this note, OEM Update is hosting this conference on MHE for modern manufacturing. Today, our industry expert panelists will share their insights on leading operations and leveraging automation. They will also talk about how integrating innovative technologies and automation in material handling solutions is helping India to become a global manufacturing hub. It's an honor and a privilege for me to introduce you to today's distinguished speakers, Mr. K. Srinath, the Vice President of Mac Machine Tools and Automation, Mr. Rohit Sadafal, Program Manager, MCIE Automotive, Mr. Ravichandran Lee, Senior Manager for Product Management, Mesa Cutting Systems, India Private Limited, and Mr. Sunil Dabral, Senior Vice President and Business Head, Godrej Cobber Supply Chain Limited.
My first question is to Mr. Ravichandran. How do you see Make in India influence material handling business today?
The industry is growing in a very fast pace, and the imported systems are way costly for our industry. So that is triggering up a lot of manufacturing sectors taking up locally made material handling systems. And we ourselves, though being a German company, we have our development on the material handling systems done in India. It's like making in India for the world.
That's right, Mr. Ravichandran. Yes, Make in India and localization soaps are positively impacting the industry. Mr. Rohit Sadafal, smart factories using innovative MHE technology to minimize downtime. What is your take on it?
Definitely, we have a live case in our campus only. So wherein we have pilot, we have smart factory. By birth, we have envisioned that it is an industry 4.0 tech, factory entirely. And now there is a blessing what we have got in terms of 5G connectivity. We had several challenges faced from past 3 years over the implementation of IoT and realizing the end-to-end value. Of course, 98% of the value was realized. So now the smart factory in today's era is no more a dream. So when it comes to material handling, so I shared few of these use cases, like one being not just the concentrating on the value of material handling, but collaborating with different departments like material handling and quality and solving both of their problems with a single solution. That is a visual quality analytics. So this was when we used to see in the past times, like in the past decade. So we didn't got much of the success with the vision camera analytics. Now with the kind of vision cameras and the video analytics available with us and the frames and the machine learning capabilities, so factory is no more a dream. So smart factory, moreover, I would like to sum up this as a thing. So smart factory, moreover, would not be producing only the parts or giving services, but will also be providing data for improvements, for the continual improvements. It will help you to build on the data sets, and further with the help of this data, the optimization will be a continual process.
Thank you for your feedback about it, Mr. Rohit. Yeah. Now let's move to Mr. Srinath. Do you think increasing robotic uses in manufacturing will enhance productivity for MHE operations?
I said surely it will enhance the efficiency and the productivity, because most of the labor used for material handling are contract laborers. The first issue that you have is right there. The contract laborers are not permanent laborers, are not guaranteed to be available every day in the manufacturing floor. So there is a variability of the manpower which turns up to the factories every month. And this is the biggest challenge most of the customers tell us. Why they are forced to automate? Because in a country like India, where there is a lot of people, I think it is unfair sometimes to say why we bring robotics. But actually the reality is people don't find manufacturing an easy job these days, because a Uber or a Swiggy is a lot more attractive proposition for them to go and work, and they get the same salary. Secondly, they have flexibility in what they do. So by putting robots, for sure, most manufacturers will solve some of these bugging problems that are there in their plants, and automatically the efficiency will improve. Because the robots don't stop, they don't have moods, they don't have conversations amongst themselves unless you program it to have that conversation, right? So no distractions is the best way to improve efficiency. Imagine in our own life, if we don't have anybody disturbing us, we'll be a lot more productive. That's the fundamental.
I agree with you, Mr. Srinath. As the robotization is an inevitable future of this industry. Sir, how do you view automated material handling solutions, and what opportunities do you see for the bulk material handling part in the manufacturing sector?
I see everything as going in a good direction, right direction. Well, automated material handling systems are seen as process and efficiency enablers in an industrial warehouse, be it a warehouse inside a factory, or maybe it's a distribution center or a warehouse, or let's say an order fulfillment center, So these systems and technologies help to ensure efficient material movement, right? Where the raw material is coming inside the warehouse, then it is sorted, stored, then it is retrieved from the storage and taken to the production line, then it's converted into finished goods, then it is moved again back to the storage, or maybe sometimes direct dispatches to the customer. And all these activities happen. These are different processes which is happening within the manufacturing setup. And then final finished goods are sent to the market or customers. So all these activities are happening today, and these are growing. These are, the adoption of automation is happening more and more. So automated material handling has a broad definition. But essentially it denotes accuracy in picking, the speed at which it moves within the warehouse, and efficiency gained by reduction of errors inside the warehouse. And key equipments, as I said before, like stacker cranes, conveyors, rail-guided vehicles, automated guided vehicles, autonomous mobile robots, shuttle-based systems, pallet shuttles, carton shuttles, and there's so many of them. So, there are different set of hardwares, and basically these are all linked with a common software platform called WCS, and then later on a higher management layer of WMS on top. So I see that warehousing automation, or let's say material handling automation it's growing since the time I've been into this field, and it's growing very, very fast, and it's going in the direction where we did not even think 10 years back. The intelligence, these machines are becoming intelligence. And while coming to the manufacturing sector, which is the Indian manufacturing sector is growing at a CAGR of around 7 to 10%. Which is quite low, for all obvious reasons. At the same time, the growth is slow because it has its own challenges. As per one study from McKinsey, 70% of the Indian manufacturing companies are not able to generate returns which are higher than their cost of capital, which means the returns which they are generating are they lower than the cost of capital. That means their value is diminishing. So all the challenges, if we have seen, in this sector, I can summarize them for you, like higher cost of infrastructure and input cost, like labor cost, unskilled labor, because the related deficiencies and damages and things like that which happen by employing unskilled labor, the cost is very high. Then poor logistics infrastructure of the country leads to delays, and then ultimately it leads to higher inventory cost. Then rising cost of power and fuel, and these days, due to the war situation in Europe, we are seeing that power and fuel shortages, like at the top. These costs are up, and the effect will be seen everywhere. Then other challenges are which are very, very inherent to any value chain or a sector. So what is being predicted is that in next 7 years, Indian manufacturing sector will generate additional manufacturing GVA, gross value add, in the range of around $300 billion. And there will be 10 different clusters in the manufacturing sectors which will be collectively producing this GVA. And since we have seen that the government of India has also launched a PLI scheme which is targeting 14 different sectors to basically boost up the Indian manufacturing growth. So the question is, when we have these different challenges in the manufacturing sectors, then how many of them can be mitigated? So here, let's say a company which is dealing into warehouse automation equipments and solutions, we see that there's few challenges which we can take and help the manufacturing sectors to basically generate more efficiency in their business. So by adoption of automated material handling systems, some of these challenges which I cited earlier will be addressed, and like inventory costs will be lower, production will be much faster, goods will be leaving the warehouse much faster and reaching to the markets, in the lowest time, and there will be minimal or at least no return logistics cost. So this way, the manufacturers will be able to generate more value for their business, and hence automation will be an enabler for the growth of Indian manufacturing sector. So this is how I look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil, for the informative reply. You rightly said diminishing ROI in manufacturing is a challenge. In your view, what are the way out for SMEs and MSMEs from this trap?
As I said, because since the challenges are known, now we have a visibility around the challenges. We can't go and say we can transform the country's logistics infrastructure. We can make all new good roads and everything. We cannot do that, but we have to find a way around. Certain challenges are beyond our control. Let's say if I am a manufacturer, I'm from a SME group, what max I can do? I can't transform the country like India into a European country. I can't do it. But I have to find a way around it. So as I said, at least I can make my operations more efficient. I can derive better value from the investments which I have made, because I can't find a way around to reduce the cost of power and electricity. But what if I make my warehouses, warehouse performance much better? Let's say I can increase the output of my warehouse to 2 times, 3 times than what I'm doing in a conventional method. I will be able to produce more. I will be able to sell more. So that means with the same facility, with limited investment, I can generate more value for my business. Yeah. So I think we have to work around. We can't expect for an ideal situation to come and then we start working. So we have to. We know that there are challenges. Nobody else is going to come and help me, right? Government has done its part. Okay, they have launched different packages under PLI scheme. How that is going to help me? They can only help me financially, right? But when I'm losing my money and I'm losing my value, even the loans or any financial package is not going to help unless and until I'm able to turn around the situation, because I should produce more, I should be able to sell more, and I should get more money. That part is in my hand, and I need to know that what is the right technology for me to basically employ or deploy in my warehouse or manufacturing setup so that I can create value for my business. So this is, I think, should be a view of SME sector.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil, for that. Collaborative approach of intelligence and willingness has to be there. Returning to Mr. Ravichandran, how do you view material handling required from a solution perspective rather than equipment perspective? Mr. Ravichandran.
It's actually a material handling system is a highly configurable system. It's not actually meant for equipment, but it can be for a series of machines, and based on the layout, because you can that's always a modular concept which can be integrated to existing machines in a shop floor. So it's for a shop floor environment, and it has different types. Whatever I showcase goes for a plate or a sheet metal industry, and it can be the same way for a pipe industry or a pipe cutting industry also. So all these systems are highly configurable for the shop floor layout, not just for equipment that is catering to one particular equipment or not.
Mr. Ravichandran, we know that you offer various automated material handling solutions, especially for the sheet metal industry. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Mr. Sadafal, what practices can reduce downtime of MHE installations at factories? Mr. Sadafar.
When it comes to realizing the downtimes with the smart factory solutions, when particularly coming to material handling, I mentioned about one of the aspect being the shop floor simulation. So a dynamic simulation, not like a one what we do in the day. So this digital twin is getting a lot of currency when it comes to the product designing and aspects. So similar way, a new thing is coming up. So wherein we can simulate the entire shop floor for value engineering. So when it comes to material handling, it has been visible. Like I'll give you the example of the conventional visual quality analytics, the same example. And even the forklift, two examples I had quoted. I'll share about the forklift aspect. So when we started with the electric forklift, so that gave us capability of bringing in IoT devices connected to this vehicle, providing us the data about when a machine requires the metal, which in usual times we had faced several breakdowns due to non-availability of metal on the particular pressure die casting machines. So as a value realization, so what we have realized, I'll put it as a business case. So 20% there's an improvement when it comes to the existing breakdown. So we have eliminated 20% of the breakdowns for the metal by just incorporating the IoT in the forklift as well as the machine. So machine signals whenever it requires metal to the forklift, and forklift keeps the operator informed about the requirements and it goes. So likewise, the material handling equipment have a lot of potential. Because I said already, so a lot of value and human efforts go into material handling and equipment. Rest, we have done a lot of automations on the machine or the other aspects of it. But material handling per se, in a smart factory or a warehouse is the main thing where the next digital transformation will be triggered.
Thank you, Mr. Shadafal, for that information. And going towards the future, Mr. Srinath, I'm asking you the challenges for MHE adoption for smart business are infrastructure cost, labor cost, and capital input. How worthwhile is the transition from an investment point of view, say for robots or logistics, etc.?
Before I go to the challenges which comes after a challenge is crossed, the first challenge we have in deploying modern material handling equipments is the feasibility of it. Because if you look at most of the existing factories, if it's a new factory, it's straightforward. You decide from ground up what needs to go in and how it needs to be planned. But we don't have that luxury in most plants. The existing infrastructure, the aisles, the turn radiuses that you have, the carts that you have, the pallet sizes and the varieties you have, those itself actually needs to be first streamlined for many of the material handling automation to start. Now that is our first challenge, the feasibility, the technical ability to perform successfully, because if the projects that we do don't succeed at this level, when it is at the early stage of adoption, it will not encourage more people to have the courage to go and invest, because investment pays back only when it works. That's the first challenge. After that, of course, most of the mindset of people is to evaluate, and I don't mean it with any disappointment here, but that is the natural way, evaluating a particular project from a single dimension. The single dimension approach of evaluating a project and not having a strategic approach most times does not allow these technologies which are at early phase to be cost effective, very honestly. The ROIs may not be very attractive because it's a chicken and egg story. You can reduce the cost when the volumes go up, but the volumes will go up only if the costs come down. But then which goes first? So sometimes the material handling equipments that we need to look at, especially the one which I have talked about, the AMRs, are going to be looked at for an ROI from a long-term or from a strategic perspective. Not from a year perspective, from a 2-year perspective, but where is the labor rates going to head? Because the labor availability and the rates are no longer going to be the same. That is one. Second is looking at investment from a single perspective of labor cost. My favorite statement is if a labor can continue to do the work effectively, don't replace it. But the reason why you need to do automation most times is because that is not a sustainable operation. Because the labor cannot deliver or may not be available, and hence you need to automate because you have no choice to deliver to that efficiency. So when you look at it from a quality perspective, which is not guaranteed sometimes. I'll give an example of an AMR quality problem. AMRs or the material handling itself can create quality problems for materials. Because if it is not dropped at the right place, at the right time, the lines sometimes might stop, which is productivity loss triggered by the quality loss. or if you put a wrong part at the wrong location, then also there is a challenge, right? So there are many such challenges which is human oriented, and you cannot solve it with a human. Now, if a problem can be solved with a human, that's a first priority, because a country like India, where we need to deploy and employ people, we should be fair to give them the opportunity to do the automation first. But if it is not possible, evaluate it not just purely from a labor arbitration, labor replacement. Look at a broader strategic perspective. You will see the big picture. And when you see the big picture, you'll invest in these technologies. When you invest in these technologies, the cost of these technologies will go down, enabling more people to invest. So it's a kind of a cyclic way to solve this problem.
That's very well said, Mr. Srinath. Gentlemen, we are approaching the closing of the session. Mr. Sunil Dabral, can I request you to give a closing statement for the session, please?
Thank you, sir. I think it's an interesting topic. I mean, warehouse automation is, as you said in the beginning, it's inevitable. So this is a devil we can't escape, and but it is there for all good, because as one of the panelists said, that India is a populous country, but so does China is. So but China is also using a lot of automation in every facet of life. Now we are seeing automation, deployment of robots in the hospitals also, and which is also soon going to happen soon in India as well. Right now we are seeing that in China, we are seeing that in Europe. So automation is basically entering into our lives in different ways and means. So I think we have to welcome it. We have to find ways to basically solve our problems on a day-to-day life, and so challenges will always be there. There will be no perfect situation on any day that today there is no challenge for us, everything is sunky door. It's not going to happen. There will be always be problems. So we have to find ways. Automation, as somebody said, that has to make sense. It has to be feasible. That's correct, because that is the starting point. Because that does not mean that if you have money you can just invest and it will make sense. No, I mean, it has to be justified. But sometimes you have to really look for trade-offs. So if the challenges are big, sometimes trade-offs also help you take a better decision. Maybe commercially it is not making sense. Tomorrow it will make sense. So I think automation is something we can't avoid. No matter what excuse people may give today. I mean, I still find customers who have a better excuse to rely on manual labor, but I know that one day will come that they will go with the automation. I have seen local Indian manufacturing companies which are family-based business, and they have gone for automation. We have customers like that, very, very simple families, business family. And we have seen big multinational companies who have excuses to not go for automation. So look at the transition. So, I mean, coming back to the warehouse automation. So yes, this is a favorite topic for me, and this is definitely changing the entire landscape of the country in terms of material handling, and this is the future, definitely. I would like to thank you and thank all the panelists for sharing their different views on automation, and I think it was quite enriching. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunil, for sharing your expertise, and all the panelists who shared the expertise with our readers and viewers today. It's time to close this session. I request Ms. Rajeshwari to close this session.
Thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's MHE for modern manufacturing. We hope you enjoyed the session thoroughly. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. K. Srinath, Mr. Rohit Sadafal, Mr. Ravichandran D, and Mr. Sunil Dabral. I would also like to thank Mr. Gopal Anand for taking up this initiative. We request our delegates and viewers to stay connected with us on our social media handles. OEM Update magazine is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also download our app from Google Play and App Store. So with this, we would like to announce the closing of today's session. We request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Thank you and goodbye.